Down on that stage is Sean Murray.
Next year is going to be a really big year for No Man's Sky. Like you said, I've been working on it for 10 years now, and I still really love it, still really enjoy it. But what people don't know is that for the last 5 years, we've been working on something new.
It is the Game Awards late 2023, and he is announcing his new game, Light No Fire. Hello Games are the developers behind No Man's Sky, a game about exploring and surviving in space set in an almost infinite, procedurally generated universe. No Man's Sky was announced back in 2014 at the Game Awards back then, and saying there was a hype leading up to the launch in 2016 might be the understatement of that decade.
You know, I thought Morgan Freeman was God. You are actually my second God that I'm having on the show.
This was also, probably to a small extent, fueled by all the lofty promises made by Sean Murray in a number of interviews leading up to the launch.
Is the game world infinite?
Yeah.
Are planets the size of Earth?
Yeah.
Will you be able to play with your friends?
Yeah.
The title and the thumbnail of this video was about Light No Fire, not No Man's Sky, but we'll get to that, I promise you. It's just that I feel in order to explain why I feel that Light No Fire might turn out to be the best co-op exploration title since Valheim, or maybe ever, I need to explain a bit about the history of No Man's Sky first. So it was 2016, and I, like so many others, was really looking forward to the launch of No Man's Sky. Me and my girlfriend were on vacation in Madeira, so we couldn't play at the time of launch. But after we had been out hiking during the day, because hiking is kind of what you do in Madeira, we were watching streams on Twitch of people playing the game back in our hotel room in the evenings. This footage is not from those streams, and it's not footage I recorded either. I don't have any recorded footage of No Man's Sky from the time of launch, so I had to use trailer footage. And the game did not look this good back then. The clips in the trailer turned out to be really cherry-picked. On top of that, a lot of the stuff Sean said was possible in all of those interviews prior to launch turned out not to be true, and the game was simply not nearly in the state it should have been. Review scores start to plummet into the red, and pretty much everyone was really upset with Hello Games and Sean. So surely Sean Murray will be a bit more careful in making very lofty and hard to live up to promises this time around, right?
So is this like an open world planet kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, the first real open world, right? Something without boundaries. And we're going to let everyone play in it together.
Oh well, apparently not. But there's a reason I trust Sean at Hello Games anyway this time around. Because after a horrible launch, like the one No Man's Sky had, a lot of teams would just have taken the money and run. But not Hello Games. They dug in and they kept working. And then they started to release free updates. One update after the other, until most players agreed No Man's Sky was living up to the original promise. And after that, they just kept on releasing updates, to the point where all those free updates have even become somewhat of a meme. After 8 years of updates, No Man's Sky is a great game. But it is actually not a great co-op game. And this is where I think Light No Fire will be different. This is the reason Light No Fire is one of my most anticipated games. Let me explain. When No Man's Sky originally released, it was single player. True multiplayer was first introduced in the No Man's Sky Next update, mid-2018. But still today, it feels like the co-op experience is really lacking. Because despite playing No Man's Sky together with my girlfriend for hundreds of hours, even restarting from scratch several times over, it felt like we always ended up playing the game side by side and not really playing the game together. Everything from the main story progression to unlocking new base building part is something you have to do alone, and being in a party is more of a hindrance than a benefit, save for some co-op missions. So while I was working on my base inside of a rock that I think turned out really cool, and my money making machine that was really ugly but made a lot of money, she would be working on her freighter that also turned out really nice, but the thing is, you cannot share a freighter and a freighter fleet. So I would have to make my own freighter later on, while she would be doing something else, probably making her own money-making machine. For me, good co-op is not that you just happen to be in the same game instance. It is that you actually have meaningful stuff to do together in the game. The only real co-op content in No Man's Sky where you actually benefit from playing together with someone else is the newer missions that you can pick up in the Anomaly. But that is a very small part of the whole No Man's Sky experience. It's like toddler play. If you know how toddler plays, they don't play together, they don't interact that much, they just sit beside each other and do their own thing. When they grow up, they start to interact together, but not at first. And that's how No Man's Sky co-op feels. It's toddler co-op. And I think this is a result of No Man's Sky, at its core, being built for solo gameplay, and co-op being slapped on a lot later. There are a bunch of great co-op games, but just not that many focused on exploration and survival. I think Valheim sits a bit too comfortable at the top of that list, partly due to being of course a great game, but also partly due to not having that many competitors. Most other crafting survival games are PvP titles. There are a few, like The Forest for example, but it's more narrow in scope and doesn't really provide that sense of wonder and exploration. But I think Light No Fire has a chance to change all that. Light No Fire will take place on a single planet, not the whole universe like No Man's Sky, but it will be a very big planet.
Something bigger than Earth, something with, mountains, real mountains, not video game mountains, but mountains that are miles high, taller than Everest.
The game will have a fantasy setting, it will be focused on exploration and building, but also on players interacting with each other. Pretty much every frame of the trailer for Light No Fire shows players doing stuff together. And that makes me both hope and think that co-op will be a lot better integrated and part of the core gameplay experience. So I'm very hopeful that this time around, things like story and building progression can be unlocked together in a party, so that there will be reasons to party up with other players and play the game together. That Light No Fire will not just be a great game, but also a great co-op game. That it will offer the same sense of exploration and discovery and wonder as No Man's Sky, but also give a reason for players to share that experience with others. To reward players for playing the game together, and not like in many aspects of No Man's Sky, make it harder to progress doing so. I think that if they manage to keep and expand on all the things that made No Man's Sky great, the huge game world, compelling narrative, the sense of freedom, wonder and exploration, but this time also nail the co-op, and integrate it as part of the core systems, and not just slapped on as an afterthought, then I think this one could even top Valheim as the #1 in co-op crafting survival titles. I also like to say something about base building in Light No Fire, since building in games is kind of a big part of what I do on this channel. From the short clips we see of building in the game, it looks like it's going to be similar to No Man's Sky building, so not have the freedom of placement like in Valheim, or the voxel building like in Shrouded. It's a bit of a shame, but the building in No Man's Sky was alright, and you might still be able to do pretty cool stuff. This frame for example shows what looks like a player base on top of a floating island. And if the rest of the game is as good as I think it will be, then I can live with the building being just okay and not best in class. I actually have a bit of a speculation in regards to the release date for Light No Fire. I really hope it won't take 10 years after the release for No Man's Sky, because that would be 2026, and I really hope for an earlier release date than that. If you go to the Steam page for Light No Fire, release date says not announced. But when I was browsing for co-op survival titles during the Steam Winter Sale, it showed up as coming soon. There have also been quite a lot of advertisements on social media for Light No Fire, and if the release was in 2026 it feels a bit early for that. But what about the 9th of August of 2024? That's soon enough for all the advertisement to make sense while still far enough away to build hype and momentum. It would also kind of close the circle of redemption, since it's the same day as originally No Man's Sky launched. So what do you think? Do you agree that co-op feels like a bit of an afterthought in No Man's Sky and hope it will be better in Light No Fire? Do you think I might be correct in terms of release date? Let me know in the comment section below. Of course, give a thumbs up if you thought the video was good. You might also subscribe. I make a lot of videos for co-op crafting survival titles, and I will for sure make a lot of videos about Light No Fire once it comes out. If you have been following my channel for a while, you might notice that the image quality in this video, while I'm recording myself, is a lot better than in previous videos. I've actually made a little video that I have posted on my other YouTube, so there will be a link to that video in the description below on how you can upgrade your web camera, or upgrade your web camera in different cheap ways, not just go and buy a super expensive camera, but kind of smart ways to use what you already have to get a lot better image quality. So if that's something that interests you, then the link is there for you. Well, that was all for this time. Cheers!